And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
It's a rainbow. It's a rainbow of light, a rainbow of lightsabers, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Blue ones, yellow ones, lots of yellow ones. That was a fun thing to see. Yellow sabers out and about. I remember you guys.
Who doesn't love a yellow saber? That's what I'm saying.
Indeed. I like to feel that if and when Cal Kestis becomes like part of Star Wars canon, I know like they give him a blue lightsaber, but that never resonated. That never resonated well with me. That Cal had like a default blue lightsaber. He doesn't strike me as a blue. I feel like he'd have a yellow one.
Let's say Jara T'Pol's is a blue one, but when he makes his own, it's yellow because the kyber crystal calls to him, and he's been using his master's saber, right? So. There you go. I mean, come right in, sit right down. Mikey's going to tell you what your lightsaber color is. That's no lightsaber.
You already know. The human holocron.
It's a dildo. That's right. It's not safe for work. I changed up the song a little too much.
The flash lightsaber, bro.
Oh my God.
That's how we're going to get rich.
That's how we're going to get rich.
The flash lightsaber.
You are listening
to get rich.
to And Are You Okay?
A Star Wars
podcast. I am Mikey, your host, the human holocron. Darth Plagueis the Wise. Himself. I am here with my partner in crime, Matthew Porter, the Rogue One, the Rogue Only, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu dude, that smack talker Skywalker. And we're here to talk about
your main from the gray hoodie gang.
That's my guy. He's checked in, and we are so excited to talk about this teaser trailer for Star Wars: The Acolyte. We've been hearing about it, we've been reading about it, but now we're actually getting some visual aid to help us envision what is the tail end of the High Republic, and what is it going to look like on our screens on June 4th. So I'm super excited. I'll do the whole thing here. Like, why don't we just drop the spoiler warning just in case? I don't know what we could possibly spoil here, if I'm being completely honest, but
we would imagine you would have watched the trailer at this
and
point.
Even then, this is taking place after like all of the High Republic books. Technically, from like a timeline standpoint, it should be towards the end of that type of thing, and I haven't read any of those yet, so your human holocron is lacking in that department. But listen, I'm going to try my best. I only got so much time. So
I know, right?
Why don't I start off with a synopsis, and then we'll just kind of like talk about our overall reactions and like our hopes for the series, like what characters excite us the most, and then any sort of predictions we have. There's one specific thing that I want to talk about that I feel like there's been discourse online in the Star Wars community about a specific line from The Phantom Menace. People are maybe misinterpreting it or acting like something means that it has to go a certain way, but we'll dive deeper into that. So I'm very intrigued. I'll hyper dive right in. Synopsis. Set 100 years before Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, an investigation into a shocking crime spree pits a respected Jedi Master against a dangerous warrior from his past. As more clues emerge, they travel down to a dark path where sinister forces reveal all is not what it seems. ... Matt, what were your initial reactions?
So it was a bit cathartic seeing a Jedi temple again. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been many a moon.
You mean one that's
seen
not
one,
getting shot up like
a
school?
Exactly. Yeah, last time we saw one was in the flashback sequences in Obi-Wan, and even then it felt really good to see Coruscant like looking like that and everything. So that felt really good. Seeing the younglings and the Jedi robes and everything, it took me back to simpler times, in the order
before the dark times, before the Empire.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, the trailer for me it kind of felt like a tale of two shows, because it was just like all the stuff with like the Jedi and the sabers and obviously felt very Star Warsy, but like the stuff with Amanda Steinberg, I think that's the one who's like the ninja girl with the mask on. I think that's her name, or Amandla, something like that. Sorry if you hear this. I mean, Manifest, you're hearing this because we're so popular. But sorry if I said your name wrong. But yeah, like all that ninja stuff and her with like the blade and everything, I really liked it a lot. But it felt so new and fresh. But
really,
it really did.
Yeah.
And I guess because it felt like a tale of two shows, but I would imagine that they obviously can't like give us all like the bridging part of it, because that probably spoils the story. But it did feel different. It felt like new Star Wars material, which I'm always here for, as opposed to we've been get with Mando and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. We've been getting new stories in a familiar setting. So it's just like it was shit that we've always known, but it was new stuff, so we liked it. This feels like new stuff in a new setting, and I have no idea what to expect, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
No, I think that is my most exciting takeaway, is that this is the first time really that I feel like I know almost nothing, right? Like we're coming in, we're gonna meet a bunch of new characters, more people for us to get attached to, more villains for us to discuss. Obviously I think there's like this undercurrent of the Sith being in the shadows at this point in time, and I think that's certainly interesting. But I also like that, we're getting a lot of relatively unknown actors with a bunch of actors who have kind of like, and I mean this in a positive way, absolutely destroyed their performances in other things recently. So like, and maybe recently is not the right word for Carrie-Anne Moss, but she's fantastic as Trinity. And then you have, and I'm sorry, I haven't looked up all the actors' names, but the Asian lead actor is from Squid Game, and he apparently has, I have not watched Squid Game, and I know that's kind of weird to hear.
Lee Jung-jae,
but I heard he's amazing in that. And then we have X-23, the Daphne Keane from Logan has grown up into a Jedi at this point, and she absolutely crushed that role. So it's exciting to see some of these actors get to play in Star Wars.
Did you ever watch his Dark Materials?
I have not.
It's on HBO Max, and she's like the lead in it. If you ever seen the movie Golden Compass, that probably came out like the mid 2000s. It was really good. Like Daniel Craig was in it, but they did a TV version that was like truer to the books, and it was like multiple seasons, called His Dark Materials, and she's the lead in it, and it's fire. It's like real fire.
I'm very excited for them. And to learn about some other actors. I think we'll talk about characters that excite us, but it seems like, I mean, the crux of things is that there are a bunch of Jedi getting murdered. And just based off the tone, and Matt, definitely correct me if I'm wrong here, but do you feel that tonally this is the closest thing to Andor outside of everything else we've gotten? Because to me, there's like a feeling here that, like, while the Jedi are present, and like usually those stories are a little more lighthearted and like tied to these like hopeful stories, this feels just much darker than what we're used to the Jedi dealing with. And I think that even in the cinematography, I was seeing something like a production level that just felt like it was outside of kind of like the volume era of things.
Yeah. I definitely. I don't know if it was Andor, but, and hopefully, like, as we have this conversation, it might come to me. But yeah, I picked up on that too. Just like the cinematography style, the shots that they were using, it seems that they're going to be, like you said, not necessarily in the volume, but like on location for a lot of this stuff. It did seem like I mean, I guess actually no. I guess Andor was right, because like the thing that we were saying about Andor is it was a really good show just set in the Star Wars world. It wasn't like a Star Wars show. Mm-hmm. And I guess that is kind of what I did feel from that. It just, oh, I got it. I was thinking of what I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the Batman, how they really wanted to focus on the detective side of it. So it was like a detective movie just set in Batman's universe. Mm-hmm. And that's what this trailer felt like. It felt like a mystery serial killer show. Yeah, with just Jedi and shit in it. And I was like that one scene where they held off showing a red lightsaber until the end, and it came like whizzing through the trees. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what was that? And it's just like, oh shit, a red one. Like, I was like, that shit felt lit. Yeah. But it reminded me of the Batman. Like, they wanted to be like, no, I want to make a detective movie just set in the Batverse. And I think that's why the Batman is one of my favorite Batman movie. But I definitely got that vibe.
I love that you make that point, because I think that the Clone Wars tried to do this a lot. They like did their genre pieces. But now we're kind of seeing it on a grander scale and in live action. So it's going to have a lot more eyeballs on it than the Clone Wars, as unfortunate as that is, because I think the Clone Wars is awesome stuff. But you're not going to get a kaiju Star Wars movie. But you got 2 episodes of it in the Clone Wars. And, there are murder mysteries in the Clone Wars for a couple episodes, but nothing is as like deep and dark. I mean, there was blood on the poster. When has there ever been blood on the poster outside of maybe Finn having like the blood streaks on his stormtrooper helmet? Just felt like there was more gravity.
That poster was fire. Yeah, the blood splatter being like the red lightsaber. I thought that shit was amazing. I thought that was really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So I guess my hope for the series is, one, to introduce me to some new characters that I adore, and like get excited about. I'm kind of, I don't know if the Acolyte is going to be like a 1 season thing. I feel like it might be something that they set up to be multiple seasons. But I'm hoping that it introduces me to some of my new. I want them to make me have some new favorite Star Wars characters. Like that's always kind of what I'm looking for when we're going into a new era of things. I want to have someone that I want to root for. I'm also maybe hoping that this time around they have me rooting for the bad guys, which I think that, like, as a Star Wars fan, I'm typically that guy who like ride or dies for the Jedi. But if they do this, they have an opportunity here, I think, to tell a really compelling story from the villain standpoint. And I do think that there's been headlines and talks from like the creators that like the protagonists of the show are like on the dark side, and we might be seeing more from their perspective.
Yeah, and we. Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe we talked about this during Celebration when they kind of had like teased it, which felt like a lifetime ago. So it's so crazy that we're like have a trailer now and everything. But I know me and you have talked about before, saying that with the Skywalker saga, even though we know that like the underarching theme that they kind of throw in our face in the sequel trilogy is that like there isn't good or bad, there's gray areas, room for everything. It's a spectrum, as they like to say. But most of Star Wars has always treated the Sith as Sith, and they've never tried to make them a relatable or a sympathetic villain.
The only time
they've never tried to do this. Like, no, they're bad,
and even Anakin's reasons are like not that great. He's just purely purely selfish. And then, like, I just don't want my wife to die. Like, that's
1,000%. And then you can't really say they did that with Kylo Ren, because he jumped ship. He didn't end as a villain at the end of it, so I can't really call him a sympathetic villain at that point. But I feel like we talked about that like getting to possibly see a motive behind why the Sith are the Sith and why they're so anti-establishment in Jedi, get into like a relatability factor to them, like, oh shit, like, so this is where the dog, like, it got watered down and bastardized over time to just being like, fuck y'all way, our way. But this stemmed from, and we talked about it, we've referenced that, the Jedi in the era that we know, a lot of them were very pompous and stuck up. and the dogmatic view of the Jedi and all that stuff and everything. So it's just like, I can only imagine how they was in the High Republic. Like, look at it's in the name, the High Republic. They clearly look at them, feel like they're the upper echelon of citizenship. So it's just like, yeah, exactly. So I'm all here for, like, maybe there's like a disgruntled former Padawan that was just like, hey, like, y'all treated me like shit, but look, like, I'm out here and they do things differently over on this side. They let me be me, like, whatever the story is gonna be. But I'm all here for, if the Sith, like, if it comes out that we get information that, like, the Sith was really, like, bred from the Jedi, I would like that. Would be totally down. Yeah. If, like, on some Cain and Abel shit. Like, if the first Sith was a Jedi at one point.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that idea too. I was planning on talking about this last, but I think you brought up something that it just feels like the natural place to bring this up now. The dogmatic view of the Jedi. Ki-Adi-Mundi says in The Phantom Menace, the Sith haven't been seen for a millennia. It's 1,000 years. This is taking place 100 years before The Phantom Menace. So a lot of people were saying, like, oh, that breaks canon. Like, how can you have a Sith, like, be here? And, like, you know, they just...
I didn't take it that way at all.
And for me, I'm just thinking, like, well, one, I think that opens up the possibility that every single character that gets introduced at some point gets killed by the Sith that they run into, which is pretty dark for Star Wars, but I'm also kind of here for it. Conversely, if they aren't all killed by the Sith, I think it makes a stronger statement about the fact that the Jedi choose not to believe Jedi who come back to the temple and say that they've encountered the Sith. And that is definitely a likely outcome.
That's where I was,
that could be really... It would really frame the prequel trilogy in a much different light. And yeah, it doesn't make the Jedi look great, but I think that ultimately we're going to be viewing things differently from, like, how we view the characters, but it might make us feel more sympathetic to people like Anakin, who obviously, you know, fall into, or they try to follow the code, but, like, they have a hard time with it and they end up being better Jedi because of it. Or people like Obi-Wan, who never stray from the light, and Qui-Gon, who, like, yeah, maybe they're these, like, quote-unquote Ronin type Jedi, but they act more like the, like, embodiment of good that they are in the world, trying to help other people. And so hopefully whatever light it shines, like, yeah, it might cast some deeper shadows, but the people who are reflecting the light, I'm hoping that it kind of, like, catches them like a prism and we start to see them in a whole new light.
Yeah, I would really like that too, because I'm glad that's how I took it as well. Like, because I had seen some of the people talking about some timeline error and this and the third. I took it that as well too. Like, no, the Jedi be having their heads so far up their ass sometimes that they couldn't comprehend that this was happening. I mean, fuck it, like, shit. Look at the prequel trilogy. Palpatine literally he hydra'd the Jedi. Right? He literally built an empire right underneath the Jedi's nose, like right underneath. Not even like, he was far away, we couldn't figure out. Yeah, bro, like, yeah, he was, like, literally, like, in league with them. He had them essentially help build his army, like on some wild shit. Like, she was the man when it came to that. But I would really like that if because that we kind of got a taste of that when like you said in that scene when Qui-Gon was just like, nah, bro, that definitely was a Sith, and they was like, nah, I don't think so. I don't believe so. Probably not a Sith. Well, you must have been, that was probably a maroon lightsaber. You're a bit mistaken. Like, the sun was probably hitting it at a different angle. So yeah, I would really like to see that. I also kind of just going back to the part about possibly the Sith's foundations being from, like, disgruntled former Jedi. There was, like, a line in the trailer, and I'm about to paraphrase the fuck out of it, where one of the characters, like, basically says something along the lines of, like, who are you to determine, like, who gets to use this power? Yeah, like, something along this line. It was like a scene on the beach and something with rocks in the ocean, and it was something along the lines of, like, yeah, like, why do you get to determine, like, who can use this? If the Force is everything everywhere, you know, why do you get to choose who can be, like, you know, trained and whatnot? That's how I took that. And I hope that that's, like, a theme in the show that, you know, kind of echoing, I guess, a bit some of the stuff from Last Jedi, you know, like if what Rian Johnson was trying to convey, that, like, you know, like, hey, like anybody could be force sensitive, and you know, it's not just exclusive club, like it's like
let's
like we're all, the force is all around us, and everything.
Telling a story with like broader strokes so that more people can feel invested, I think is a good thing, right? Like I think that's really like the crux of what you're like saying here, is that, you know, there are so many, I feel like, disenfranchised people like in the world, and then also in the Star Wars universe, that like there's a lot of room for relatability if they tell it the way that you just described. So I'm all for that. I think, and it adds to the hubris, like if they created their own greatest enemy from just, you know, like not letting people train or letting like people in or whatever, on some fucking the Karate Kid type time, like oh no, we're not gonna train you people. It's just like, oh, why not? Everybody should be able to learn. So there was one, like I have a couple predictions, I guess. Nothing that's like grounded in any sort of, it's just like a feeling, I guess, based off of the narrative we do know. The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, I think we all take that to mean that Sheev was his apprentice, and it's practically been you know, stated that is what
confirmed without being confirmed.
Right, and those novels aren't canon anymore, but like I think a lot of people act like they had canon them, and I think that's totally fair because there's nothing that contradicts them yet. Until now, like the series, I think is going to maybe develop that, and I'm kind of hoping that, okay, maybe we don't see Darth Plagueis like at his height, but if the series ends with it like being like, oh, he's starting to be trained, and we see him as like an apprentice, and it kind of like lays the groundwork for some of that, and maybe it makes room for a story where we get his story into things, like I'd be for that. I think it would be really interesting to kind of like, eventually it's got to connect to the Skywalker saga, which I think that's the thing I like about this, is that it doesn't quite connect to it, but the fact that it could build to something where we do get that connective tissue, maybe in like the final season, right? If it's a multi-season show, like let's have this story be told, and then like towards the end you can be like on some Rings of Power type shit, you know what I mean, where it's like, this is its own story, but like there are things that, like when Mount Doom is created and I'm seeing what's happening and I'm now connecting that to my experience viewing like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I felt that. I want to have that type of feeling, but in Star Wars, and I think they can do it if this show gets the seasons it deserves and you know, continues to flesh out this era.
You said this is 100 years before.
Correct. Yep.
The prequel.
So there are some characters that are active.
Then Yoda should 100% be around. Yep. Okay.
There's 3 that I can name off the top of my head. Yoda, Jarl Poof, who's like the long neck guy who like they always make fun of in the Robot Chicken Johns, and then Oppo Rancisis, who's like the snake looking bearded guy on the council. They are all definitely,
and Yaddle.
Yes, Yaddle would also be active at this time frame. So there you go. There's definitely going to be a handful. I think Plo Koon technically could also be alive at this point. So yeah, there could be some familiar faces. Maybe we'll see younger versions of those characters, and that'd be really exciting to see as well. Just to kind of, I don't want to call it their prime.
I don't see how you could. Yeah, I was gonna. I don't see how you can have like a High Republic era Jedi show, especially if you're having shit at the temple and Yoda not be like at least a cameo.
Yeah, no, he should be a cameo. Like, and I think I don't. Maybe like, for me, I'm fine if it's reserved to that type of role. Like, I want to focus on everybody else, but yeah, I'm gonna be excited to see him in an episode.
Yeah, I don't need him to be a heavy hitter.
Yeah, maybe he's part of like a B plot of an episode, or maybe he like imparts some wisdom onto one of the main characters, and that's just the interaction we get between them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with that, and like it goes on to kind of like inform the adventure of that episode. Like, that to me is like the perfect way to use Yoda. Yeah. They do it in Rebels twice, and it's the perfect amount of exposure to a Grandmaster like that. So very excited for that. Were there any characters that stuck out to you, Matt? Like that, like you're just really interested in their story specifically, just based off of the small amount of footage you got from them?
So 2. definitely Carrie Ann's for sure. I want to like, even though it seems kind of I don't want to say self-explanatory, but she who she is clear. She's a Jedi, like that's obvious or whatnot, what have you. But it's just like, I don't know, and it could just be her because her eye. She's a very good eye actress. Like she's really good with just speaking with nonverbals.
Yeah,
it seems like there's a lot that's going on like with her character. Like she's carrying a lot. I don't know if like these murders are hitting close to home, but it seems like she seems very. It doesn't seem like she was just picked for this mission to find out who these killers are. Like, oh, who's our best person available? Send Carrie Ann Moss. Like, it seems like she has like a personal investment. Like, it seems like the scenes where she's like walking through like the dark corridors and stuff like that. Like, it seems like she's has like a part to play. So I'm very interested to see like what's up with her story. And then again, Amandla Steinberg. Again, I might be saying her name wrong, but she's like the ninja person, like with the mask and everything. What's going on with her? I don't know how often outside of like Bad Batch stuff, it's very rare we get to see like a dagger play in Star Wars. So I was I'm excited for that, to see that. But those two are my two where I'm like, I wonder what's going on.
I was gonna say Amandla's character
because I'm curious.
Stood out to me, it's just like first off, her character.
Because I'm curious if she's the one that's going to get the red lightsaber. Yeah, I'm curious if she's the one that's going to get the red lightsaber. Because I'm kind of leaning towards she's not. Because like I'm just trying to think of just like promotional material, how TV shows usually work. Usually like you don't like forecast your reveals like in that way.
Yeah.
So it's just like I wouldn't be surprised if the person that gets the red lightsaber, because you don't see who catches it, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a different character.
Okay.
Like maybe even someone that we don't suspect. I mean, I wouldn't be, you know what? I'm making a bold prediction. So if this show is a whodunit type of situation, I'm going to say that whoever the murderer and or like Sith red lightsaber wielder is, I'm going to say that it's a character in the show that may have a different colored lightsaber when we are first introduced to them.
I like that.
Show.
Okay. All right. So this is probably our last question, and it's really kind of a fun one here. But do you, because I saw there was flashbacks present in the trailer with people with different haircuts, same actor. Who do you think our murder victim is? And do you think we saw them in the trailer?
So that's your question kind of fits what I just said. I don't know if we saw the murder victim, but I do feel like we might have seen the murderer, because I'm kind of leaning towards that the murderer might be like, I don't want to go as far as to say it's like a rogue Jedi, but I feel like it's a character who's going to be painted as like an ally throughout the show, if not directly just a somebody in the temple, or maybe like a rogue, maybe a Padawan who's been a Padawan
like a
for a minute.
disenfranchised Padawan.
Gets like gets a case of the Anakin and is like doing some shit on the side. That's what we're gonna call a case of the fuckings from now on.
Case of the Anakins.
Case of the name of this episode. Case of the Anakins. 100%. Name of this episode. but now I'm very curious as to your take on that.
So I think that Star Wars has had a habit of doing this. They put a lot of footage from the first couple episodes in the trailer and leave you guessing for literally everything else. And I think that they spent so much time on Carrie Ann Moss because a lot of...
Oh, you think she might be the one that gets off?
I think that's the fight. I think that's the thing that catalyst that sets off the whole thing.
At the beginning of the show? Yeah. I can see that. I fuck with that, actually.
And we'll see her contribution to the story in flashbacks as they continue to go through. But
I like
making her the focal point, but then killing her at the end. Oh, that'd be a good premiere.
I wonder, because remember we were talking about a couple episodes back, and and we were saying like things we would like to see in Star Wars, like a bit more blood when it comes to, you know, like Jedi warfare, even though we know the lightsaber like, cauterizes the wound. I wonder if like this is supposed to be a murder mystery and we had like blood splatters on the poster. Like I wonder if we see like our first like blood from a lightsaber injury type of situation, or like if she's like ran through.
Yo, what if the murder victim is like
later point, maybe
Ponda Baba is the like Aqualish who gets his arm cut off in the cantina by Obi-Wan. I think it'd be really funny if like the victim is an Aqualish and that's why there's blood on the poster, because they're for whatever reason they're like blood is too like whatever reason they came up with for the blood to be there was that like, oh, it's like for whatever reason, like the temperature it was at, like it was too cold to like cauterize, like right. All the other beings would be, and that's why there's blood in that scene. Yeah, exactly. So, like it'd be funny if they did that deep cut, and that's the species of the alien that gets killed.
I'd be here with that shit. I'd be here with it. So do you know? I'm asking a question that might have been answered. Is the show supposed to be like them tracking down a murderer who's like killing multiple people, or are they just trying to solve one central murder?
So I do think that there's a line said in the trailer where there's one Jedi says there's someone out there killing Jedi, and it doesn't make sense or something like that.
Okay, so it's multiple.
Yeah, so I think that it's like a chain of murders. A serial killer. They're on the loose.
I'm here for this shit, bro.
I'm really excited. I hope that
it. Yeah, but I'm making a bold prediction.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say, like again, I'm not gonna say the word Jedi, but I feel like the killer is someone who like has regular access to the temple.
I
take
you're right.
How you want to take
because I think that would raise the tension level a lot, and I think that's something that could be really fun to watch. All right, well, that has been our bite-sized.
When have we ever had like a twist like that style of twist
in Star Wars?
Like
I don't
Star
know.
Wars, because I feel like typically in Star Wars they Benicio del Toro a lot of the shit. Like anytime there's like a brand new character that shows up and is like too good to be true, typically they betray you. So it's like oh yeah, he's about to turn on us. He's not squad.
Right.
Like, but I would be really excited if it's like a character that we like grow to love, and then, you know, like the penultimate episode is like, why you were the murderer? Like it's crazy.
And then they end up killing
murder. What murder?
You didn't kill nobody.
What murder? He's a great guy.
Well, Matt, that has been our bite-sized trailer reaction and speculation for Star Wars The Acolyte, coming to us on June 4th, and you can catch the coverage here on And Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
I almost thought you forgot there. You did, didn't you?
I know, it's the delay,
oh,
baby.
You got it.
You got
it. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, you can listen to us here on And Are You Okay Pod, and follow us on our Instagram and Twitter at the letters A and I Are You Okay Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow our sister podcast, Dragon Ball for Life, at DB4L_pod. Matt and Travis over there doing all sorts of fun things. Honoring Akira Toriyama and talking about all sorts of fun fandom things, because we are highlighting
the GOAT,
different fans, and who better to start with than a man who literally took the phrase "come get us" and made it his whole career in Toyotaro.
We came up with it. We came up with it first.
Yeah, we sure did. But he lived his life by it, so I guess he's kind of beating us there.
He did.
You can check out their coverage of Dragon Ball AF, which is definitely a great episode. I just put it together today, the day that we're recording this, and it'll be out for people.
My God.
Before this episode comes out, I'll tell you that much. And we are going to continue our coverage of The Bad Batch. You will be seeing that episode coming to you real soon. But Matt, why don't you go ahead and take this one out for us?
It would be my pleasure, good sir. Whether you watch it, kidding. It could be The Acolyte. It could be a sound bite. It could be on too tight. It could be can't drive at night. Or it could be Ray. Life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, Annie gonna be okay.
Be okay. May the force be with you.
And with you.
Deuces.
Later, nerds.